Okay, hello everyone and welcome to this special live stream today featuring Joshua 757, first class aeronautical engineering graduate student who loves to do flight simming. Today I'm flying one of my favorite aircraft and it's almost like my wish to fly the DC-10 has finally come true. We are flying today a brand new DC-10 in X-Plane 12, okay? It's technically meant to be for X-Plane 11, but there is some exceptions and I've got it working in X-Plane 12 and we're going to explain today how to fly this aircraft. Okay, this aircraft has stirred up a lot of hype and enthusiasm in the flight sim community, and it's natural that people need a tutorial how to fly it, and that is what I am here for. Today we're going to do a streamlined tutorial. It's not going to be so intense because I understand that people need to be up and flying this aircraft as soon as possible. So we're going to go over the essentials in accordance with some real FCOM that I have. So it's not so slapdash, it's quite thorough as well. And welcome to everyone in the chat. This has been a very good discussion about the DC-10, the different series. This is a special Orbis DC-10 flying hospital. Actually, now they have the MD-10, okay? This is, the MD-10 is a DC-10 with MD-11 screens, okay? So this is a special livery done by Phil, who does Aerogenesis A330. He's a livery creator and he has his own YouTube channel called Manflex, and yeah, he does some great videos, so I highly suggest you check it out. This livery is quite interesting as well. On one side it has windows, on the other side it doesn't. It's quite intricate. This is a freeware DC-10. You can find it on the forum. It's called MC10 Simulations. There's a question in the chat where to download it. Give me a minute. There is a Google Drive link that is there. It's here we go. I'm just going to post it in the chat like so. Hopefully it should work. Let me know if it does. So what we're going to do now is a full flight today from Miami to Atlanta Airport, and we're going to showcase this aircraft. It's not perfect, but you're going to understand the systems and all that stuff. So let's get started right away. So I'm going to use the FCOM that I have. I have World Airways FCOM, so I'm going to check that. So a couple of things we need to do is the pre-flight, of course, so circuit breakers checked, spoiler handle, forward detent, flaps and slats in agreement and retracted, gear down, windshield wipers, they're off, thrust reversers in agreement, parking brakes release if chocks are in place. I'm not sure if they are. And yeah, so the first thing we need to do now is establish our power. So we're going to check our battery volts. So we do so by coming over here and we switch to battery. We're going to switch the battery on and we're going to check the DC voltage. It's showing right now 30, I think 32. 22 is the minimum. So yeah, we're doing good. And I'm going to start the APU right away. So to do so, you need to turn on the DC start pump, okay? If you know about the MD-80, that also has a DC start pump. So in the absence of external power, you need to use it. And we're going to turn the APU master to first start and then run. And there we go. Notice the APU temperature spooling up. Another thing I needed to do actually before starting the APU is do the APU fire test, but it doesn't actually work right now. You need to ensure that the loop's on both and you have to hold these two down at the same time, which is impossible right now. So yeah, just waiting for the APU to spool up. Notice a couple of things as well. On the annunciator panel, it should say a start pump on, and it should also say APU door open as well. Yeah, X-Plane 11 users, you can use this. It's for X-Plane 11, but I'm just testing it out in X-Plane 12. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to the APU. And yes, APU power available light is on, so I'm going to switch the APU gens on one at a time. There we go. APU power is now established. AC load is showing. Let's get the galley power on as well. And yeah, so this is the preliminary start checks, and APU is now running. External power is on. The galley power off lights have extinguished. And yeah, now I can turn on the AC boost pump for tank 2 left aft, because this is the one that actually powers the APU, and I can shut off the start pump. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the APU, and let's press on with the rest of the flows. Okay, so the next thing is we need to establish APU air. So to do so, you do your manifold tests. These lights should illuminate, so you press manifold fail 1, and 1 and 2 should illuminate, and similarly you'd press 2 and 3, but they don't seem to be working. Then we can establish our APU air like so, and we could also do a wing anti-ice test, why not? And let's get the packs on. There we go, some temperature is showing. Let's get the cargo heats on as well. There we go. And let's turn the cargo temperature to whatever you desire. Let's get the avionic flow going, and it should actually say norm and override. It says off and override, which I think is a bit strange. And cabin and cockpit temperatures, keep them in auto or whatever you desire. Trim air, we're going to turn that on. And yeah, let's press on with the checks. So the manifold fail checks have been done. We've confirmed avionics cooling, and we can confirm it over here. The lights are out. I'm going to reset the queues very quickly for electrics, fuel, hydraulics, so on. And right now I need to do my hydraulic system check, okay? This has to be done pretty much as soon as possible by the second officer to allow the first officer to do his flight trim checks. So I'm going to turn on aux pump 1, which is an ADG, air-driven generator, and it technically exists like down here, somewhere above the nose gear kind of thing. It's like a small ram air turbine, if you like. So we've got hydraulic pressure for system number 3, and this is we can also arm the standby rudder, NVRP, non-reversible motor pump. So aux pump 1 is on and is indicating pressure for system 3. We also technically need to come over here to the second officer's annunciator panel, and it should show there aux pump 1 on. And I'm now going to arm the RMP, reversible motor pump, for 2 and 3. So I'm going to set that to arm, and notice we have pressure for system 2. And it should show actually over here on the second officer's panel, it should show 1 to 3 dash 2 to 3 pump valve open. So it doesn't show that at the moment. I mean, it's just released, so it's got bugs. And similarly, the 1/3 pump, we're going to turn that on, and we've now got hydraulic pressure. This should also center the control surfaces for the rudder. If you come over here, if there's any deflection with the rudder, it should have centered that. And similarly, I'm going to turn on aux pump number 2. I'm going to start that up, and we should be able to verify with the second officer's annunciator panel, aux pump 2 on, but yeah. Okay, so now I need to carry out my trim checks, okay? This is something the first officer or captain would do. So basically, we move the pickle switches, both of them at the same time. Notice the trim handle should move up and down. The warning should sound, and then similarly, you would do it one at a time and notice nothing should move. And you would also test out the suitcase handles as well. So that's the trim checks done, and I'm going to close this down. So I'm going to put the RMPs, otherwise known as PTUs if you're on the Airbus, back to off. I'm going to shut the pumps down. And the proper configuration for the engine-driven pumps is the left-hand side should go on, the right-hand side should go to sorry, one should go to auto and the right hand side should go to on. Okay, so one should be on auto, the other should be on. One should be on auto, the other should be on. And we can also check our hydraulic quantities, hydraulic temperatures, and so on and so forth. And yeah, let us just look at this EFB. Okay, this is the EFB you need to operate this aircraft, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You got your different modes. You can switch from the INS to the FMC right now, so now I'm on FMC. And similarly, we have a nice option here for tape gauges or dial gauges. Okay, so right now we're using dials, and I'm going to switch over to tapes. And yeah, it looks really nice. The tape gauge variant, I think, is my favorite. The standby altimeter, it looks almost as large as the main altimeter itself. And we've got tape gauges as well. And strangely enough, we're on a DC-10 Series 30, and the tape gauge is showing EPR, which is reserved for Pratt & Whitney engines on the DC-10 Series 40. So yeah, something strange is going on here. There's as you know, GE engines use N1, and the EPR is reserved for Pratt & Whitney engines only. Yeah, so this is something that we're going to make the dev aware of. Anyway, so let's get the alignment sorted. I'm just going to go straight to nav on all three of them. I don't think it makes too much of a difference, to be honest. And let's get the FMC initialized. Hello, Andrew Plains, how are you doing? So the FMC is a kind of a small one, and yeah, let's go to the flight plan. We are going today from Miami International Airport to Atlanta. Nice route and quite short. Not so short, but 2 hours, but I'm gonna fast forward a bit. So Miami, so Kilo Mike India Alpha is the origin. Just use the line select key, and Atlanta, KATL, like so. There we go. And now we're gonna go to departures. We're using runway 08 right today. So always select the runway first, then the SID. So the standard departure today is this one. There we go. Going back to the flight plan. Okay, next page. We're going to go to STY MY, so different waypoints. Actually, let's just skip a few waypoints. Okay, we're getting some non-database. Okay, we just have to deal with that. Okay, one waypoint has worked, and I'm gonna put in the next one. There we go. And now the arrival. So go to arrival. We're using runway 27 left. So ILS 27 left. The line select keys don't line up very neatly, which is a little bit annoying. And we're going to use this star over here. And yeah, let's go back to the flight plan. Next page. Got a couple of discontinuities, so just gonna sort them out. So normally you select it and this is a bit annoying. Anyway, let's leave that for the time being. We'll sort the FMC out later. Yeah, the add-on is the texturing. It needs to be improved. I mean, if you're used to the feelers, then you know about PBR textures and all that good stuff. Okay, so we've done the hydraulic system check. That's all been done. We're going to observe the following consumables. APU oil quantity is all okay. And yeah, crew oxygen, oxygen pressure, so check. Portable water quantities, engine oil, these over here. Sorry, this oil quantity is all good. And yeah, now let's just continue on. The flight access door system, I don't know if all that's done. Okay, let's go to the overhead panel. Let's quickly finish all that out. So we've already started the alignment. Ensure the elevator feel is set to auto, flap limit set to auto, and yeah, the ADG selection should be set to hydraulic. Yaw dampers, let's get them on. We can do the test as well for yaw damper test fail. Technically, you should press it and it'll do a self-test for 20 seconds, so it's not that instant. Anti-skid, we're going to arm it and test it. Notice the annunciator panel, it should have like the fail lights. It's really faint in X-Plane 12, okay? Let's get the nav lights on. And let's keep the auto brake disarmed for now. Everything's okay. Instrument sources, just keep them in the 12 o'clock normal position. And yeah, override and air start should be off, but the button isn't modeled. Emergency power check. Let's arm the emergency lights and do the test, and it should show the emergency light test pass or whatever. And yeah, similarly, coming over here, everything is okay. We can do a stall test as well. Over speed test. The speed test for the scat pointers doesn't actually work at the moment. Anti-ice we're going to keep on norm. Let's test our probe heats and return it to off for the time being. Cockpit door should be locked, and yeah, we can do an annunciator light test as well for the overhead panel. It's kind of faint, okay, so nice. Just reading the stuff in the chat. Greetings from Russia. We used to see DC-10s flying here quite a lot. Nice. Which variants, especially, of the DC-10 did you see? Let me know in the chat. Hello there, Air Holland. How are you doing? Today we are flying DC-10. It's a new aircraft for X-Plane 12, so let's see if it works. Okay, so now I'm really just going to quickly go through stuff now. We're not going to waste too much time. I'm going to do the fuel test now. So to do the fuel test, you need to turn the start pump back on to avoid APU flame out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to latch on the aft boost pumps one at a time. Okay, we don't actually have fuel loaded up, so let's load that up now. So coming down over here, let's get some fuel in the aircraft. I think we are in pounds, or is it kilos? Not entirely sure. So to do so, you just use the counter, just roll these numbers up, and yeah, let's get a decent amount of fuel on board this aircraft. We can add in some auxiliary tank fuel as well, although I don't think the fill tanks work as far as I can tell. Okay, now I'm going to turn on the aft boost pump for each engine. Notice fuel pressure should read about 20 psi. Right now it's reading 140, which I think is inaccurate. And similarly, your next test would be to turn on the trans pump and the cross feed valve. and notice a fuel pressure of 15 psi, which we're not indicating right now. So I'm going to return them off. Let's discuss the DC-10's fuel tank system in a nutshell. Okay, so you got 3 tanks. You got 4 actually. Tank 1 is obviously on the left-hand side wing. Tank 3 on the right-hand side. Tank 2 occupies the inner sections of the left-hand side and right-hand side wing. It's divided into 2 sections, though it's treated as one entity. And the APU takes fuel from tank 2 left, so you have to turn on that boost pump. And you can use the fill tanks in conjunction with the what's it called, the transfer pump. So if you want to transfer fuel, you turn on the transfer pump of the tank you want to transfer fuel out of, and turn on the fill valve for the tank you want to pull the fuel into. Similarly, you can also feed the engines via cross feed. You can turn the transfer pump on from the tank you want to feed the other engines and turn on the cross feeds to the engines you want to feed. Although, and making it clear that the cross feeds are not to normally be used, okay? It's not standard practice. So now in preparation for engine start, I'm going to turn on each after boost pump in preparation. Okay. The fuel dump system is not modeled. Let's do quantity test, okay? Engine bleeds, I'm going to set to auto. You shouldn't really mess with those. ISOL valves, just keep them in the normal position as well. Coming over here to the section, we're going to do a cargo fire test and set it to arm. We're going to turn on the recirc fans and all the necessary stuff for the cargo heat, trim air, all these things now on. And yeah, coming over to the pressurization, notice the outflow valve needs to be in the up position, okay? So like the MD-80, up is the auto position, so leave it in the up, otherwise you have to do it manually. Similarly, pressurization mode is set to auto, and we can set in our landing elevation and so on. So referring to my little nav map, I'm going to search for Atlanta Airport, show information, and elevation is 1020 feet, so going to do that. I believe that's how it's done. So otherwise there's the manual modes and the semi-auto, but we don't want to deal with that. Brake temperature is checked. There's a test to that button that should be here to do an overheat test. Anti-skid test also we can do. And the flight recorder I'm going to turn on. I'm going to pressurize all the portable water systems. There's an enunciator light test you can do. You can either do a test for certain areas of the panel, such as the lower panel, the upper, or you can just do an all lights test like so and check them all out. Oh, is there a lot of microphone noise? I'll try and turn it down a little bit. It might actually be... It might be the fan actually. I've got a fan on. It's really hot over here. Okay, so that's all well and fine, and yeah, so overhead panel's been checked. Let's get the flight directors on. The autopilot is not great, okay, so we're gonna set, let's keep it 10,000 feet per now. And yeah, our speeds are down over here, so our V2 is 151. And it doesn't actually say what flaps setting. Actually it does, flaps 15, so let's dial in 151 for the V2. And yeah, I think that's all well and fine. Altimeter, I mean standby, ADI and so on. You can't really cage it, can't test it. Engine instruments are looking okay, no flags. And we're gonna set takeoff on the TRP. Yeah, did it get taken down, or the add-on? Is it taken down already? The floor is, yeah, we need someone to texture the floor. It's a bit strange. Okay, so coming back to the flight plan, just wanted to fix this. I've got some discontinuities, which I want to just clear. There we go. And execute it. So let's go to the legs page. There we go. Quite nice. So now I can set my HSI to INS. There we go. I think we're all good, really. We're ready for engine start. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the beacon light on. Fasten seatbelt signs. By now they should be on. No smoking as well. It's all good, and the after boost pumps, they're on. Let's turn on aux pump number 2, boost that up, and let's call for pushback. So let's show the ground handling window, and we need to push back 90 degrees to the right.
Miami International, correct. Yes. Push back to the right.
November 21 Yankee 10, copy. Stand by. Pushback tractor is on the way.
Okay, so Phil, we've yeah, so your livery is absolutely stunning. Okay, I introduced you at the start of the stream, and I'm glad you're in the chat now. And yeah, I remember you were telling me how difficult it is to do this livery. It's got windows on one side, and it doesn't have windows on the other side. So really exemplary work. And yeah, thanks for making this livery. And Phil has a very good YouTube channel. Yeah, he does great videos on the 737, A320. And I suggest you check it out. Of course, the cabin is over here, quite classy. And yeah, so the first set we've got, wow, look at the seats, very posh, from a very different era. And yeah, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 abreast seating, and we don't have any compartment for baggage for the overhead, so it gives a very spacious look. And then we can go further in and see the rest of it. In fact, the real Orbis DC-10 has a very different cabin layout. It's got proper medical equipment and so on. Now this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 abreast seating. And I believe that is the case for the rest of the cabin. Thank you, Phil. And yeah, so to everyone in the chat, we've got the livery creator in-house. He is watching my video right now. His YouTube channel is called Manflex, and I highly suggest you check that out and check out his page for liveries. And I was actually checking out your profile actually about your liveries, and it's quite nice. I've seen you created some other liveries on Flight Sim as well. Yeah, the cabin is really nice. Okay, pushback is underway. Gonna shut off the packs, ensure enough engine bleed supply. Ignition, I'm gonna use A today. Gonna punch it in. There we go. Wow, that was a fast spool up. Fuel on. Okay, so we are starting number 1. Number 3. The procedure is 312. Now we're going to start engine number 1. normally wait for about 15% and then get the fuel on. We can arm the speed brakes as well. Why is it pushing me back in the other direction? That's ridiculous. And in theory you can do a cross-blade start as well, but I'm not sure it's modeled. Normally you start engine number 2 much later, but I'm going to start it now. In the X-Plane 11.1, the engine start is more reasonable. This one is a bit strange. Okay, so now I'm going to arm the PTUs. I'm going to shut off aux pump 2. Strangely, the hydraulics is giving me some trouble. Okay, so that's the engine started. I'm going to shut off the ignition.
Disconnect. Pushback completed. Set parking brake.
Okay, let's set the parking brakes. Let's call for flaps 15. And let's continue on. Let's get the packs back on. The hydraulics is the engine-driven pumps are not coming on, so the moment I shut down aux pump number 2, it just turns it off, which is weird. Anyway, APU air I'm going to shut off, and yeah, even the air-driven, sorry, the engine bleeds are not come online. This is indeed strange. And the engine generators as well are not coming online. Anyway, let's proceed then with APU shutdown. Shut down the APU. Hopefully everything will work out. Let's do a flight control check. Yeah, the better pushback add-on, I've heard of it, but I haven't actually used it much. I did actually initially. I'll show you my own version of better pushback. Give me a second. I'm gonna go to map mode, like so, and I'm gonna swing us around. Okay, that's my version of better pushback. Okay, so let's start taxiing. I'm gonna release the parking brake. Also at this point you'd press toga on the throttles, you know, and that's generally done around this point, but yeah. There's a lot of improvement with the add-on that needs to be done, but it is quite decent. I would say it's better than the Just Flight one that was released for Flight Simulator X many years ago. It is better. Is there an issue with the mic, Air Holland? Okay, give me a second, I'll try and fix that. Is over here. Yeah, the better pushback add-on, I've heard of it, but I haven't actually used it. Okay, so is this better? Let me know in the chat. So I pulled it out and I pushed it in another port. So let me just see if it's any better. So hopefully this is a bit better now. I tried a different port. So let's see. If it's not, then just let me know. Okay, I'm gonna get the landing lights on. The click spots are a little bit tedious. Taxi lights, so on. You can put the high intensity lights on, but I don't think it works. Nose wheel steering is a little bit dodgy. Let's get the auto brakes armed. Let's turn on continuous ignition. Always use the system that you use to start the engines, okay? And come over here to the flight engineer section. Gonna turn our packs off for engine start. Sorry, for takeoff. And ensure everything's okay. Gonna get our boost pumps fully on. Okay, so the takeoff procedure is as follows. What you would do is you would engage toga, obviously, have takeoff selected on the TRP, and then you would spool up to about 40% N1, engage your auto throttles. So the captain would say 40% N1, auto throttles on, set thrust. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, 80 knots, cross check. Okay, V1, rotate. Okay, positive rate, gear up. At 1500 feet, I'm going to set climb thrust, so... And then I'm going to accelerate as well. Okay, 1500 feet, climb thrust, you'd hit N1. It's called climb thrust N1, bug me up, and then vert me up. So dial in a vertical speed of about 1000 feet per minute or so. The altitude also, you should pull it out to arm it. That's the proper way of doing it. Let's also follow the INS. Sorry, the FNC. It's, the button is still INS on the thing. Okay, let's retract our flaps. What is going on with this flight director? Let's engage autopilot 1. There's something strange going on here. It's pulling me back. The auto throttle is quite flaky on this aircraft. Not gonna lie about that. It's pulling me back to idle when it should actually be giving me climb thrust right now. Okay, I'm gonna have to set my limits manually, maybe. Also, the modes are strange. It's like it doesn't know the difference almost between thrust and speed. It thinks that speed and thrust are the same thing when they're not. Anyway, so let's retract the landing lights. When we turn off lights, we can turn off the continuous ignition. We can disarm the auto brakes. Coming over here to the flight engineer's panel. It seems to have sorted itself out. I think the hydraulics have sorted themselves out. The electrics are now showing appropriate generator loads. As seen over here, Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3. And the pneumatics also have come online. We're now getting engine pressure. We can restore our pack flow as well. Hey, yeah, this DC-10 is strange. It's I like to be appreciated. I understand that the dev has put in a lot of effort in doing this add-on. I mean, it's no easy feat, you know, to do any add-on really and explain, especially if you're solo. But I don't think it's up to standard. I mean, it's free, so not complaining, but you really need to involve a team is what I'm saying, you know. Someone to test it and so on. Why have we leveled off at 5,000 feet? Anyway, 250 knots, I should be selecting IAS hold. Also, another thing is the FMA, the flight mode enunciator, isn't showing anything. It's because we're in X-Plane 12. In X-Plane 11 it was showing, but yeah, it was quite not the kind of modes you would expect to see. Like, IAS hold is not a mode you can pre-arm. It's a mode that as you reach that speed, you select it and the aircraft then pitches for speed at a set climb thrust. It's not the kind of mode you would select and, you know, pre-arm on the ground. That makes no sense to me. I think the dev has slightly misunderstood the autopilot modes on this aircraft. But other than that, it's definitely better than the Just Flight DC-10, that's for sure. Okay, we're reaching 10,000 feet. I'm going to dial ourselves up further to our cruising altitude, which is 36,000 feet. Oh, that is strange. Okay, we're above 10,000 feet. I can accelerate further. Let's say 300 knots. Normally you go back to vertical speed mode, intercept the speed, and then go back to IS hold. Okay, so we got a question in the chat. What can you tell me about the model? Is it really 95% functional? And yeah, I can confidently tell you it's not 95%. I think it'll be about maybe 70% or 80%. Definitely not 95%. Okay, so now we're just climbing steadily, and I'm going to add in a bit of sim rate, get ourselves faster. And yeah, so the views are really nice, the exterior looks nice, the livery, this is my favorite livery, looks excellent. The only thing is, we need to get a bit more functionality out of this. Okay. Yeah, the cockpit is quite decent actually. It's, I mean, it could do with some PBR textures, you know. It kind of looks a bit like some fabric or something, you know. I don't know. It looks a bit better in X-Plane 12, actually, you know. In X-Plane 11, the panels looked a bit like very fabric kind. Here they look a bit more glossy. The only issue is that we've lost a couple of lights in the process. The annunciator light test doesn't work. You know, all the light should light up. Yeah, you are right about the textures. The floor textures especially, I mean, I don't really look at the floor much, you know. I generally look at the instruments, but the floor textures are a bit dodgy. I mean, it's a solo dev, so you're not gonna expect perfection. Maybe if there was a team, you would expect more, you know, but if it's a one-man show kind of thing, then you're not going to get the desired result immediately. Maybe a talented texturer might come along and do this all up, and it might end up looking like the Fearless 747. Yeah, you've given me a very interesting perspective, Air Holland. The floor is like a map of the globe. Yeah. I mean, right now looks quite strange, but if this gets the textures of the Fearless 747, I think that might do wonders. What do you think about that? the FMC, it's okay. It's not so bad. It's works quite okay, and you can enter in your general stuff, your rivals, and so on. And the only thing is the line select keys don't neatly match up with the stuff. You know, it's kind of mismatched, in my opinion. I just thought of doing another cabin tour, so those on the stream. And let's check out the engine view. Okay, the windows are not great. Nice wing view. And the cabin does have a very spacious feel. Looks very nice. The seating is, I think, 9 abreast. The DC-10 and the MD-11 could take 10 abreast as well, but not recommended. Okay, we're reaching 36,000 feet now, so hopefully we'll start to level off. In the real aircraft, you'd have to manually pull this knob out to get speed. And you select your cruising speed, because right now we're on IS hold. But not entirely sure if it works. Okay, so a word on fuel management. Fuel management, you would also be able to avail of the aux tank, which is in the center. So you turn on the boost pumps and you open up the fill valves. I'm inside, fill valves, and you should start emptying out the aux tank and filling tanks number 1, 2, and 3. So that should be happening right now, but it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. There is also an iPad kind of thing over here, which if you have AVI tab and all that, you can use it. So kind of handy if you want to add that immersion to your flight sim experience. Okay, so I'm going to start descending now, so in preparation. So let's dial down the lower altitude. In the real aircraft, you would dial your altitude, then pull it out to arm it. Pull it out like so, and then can go vertical speed. Let's dial ourselves down. I'm not too sure what's going on with this autopilot. Clearly cannot respond to vertical speed. Okay, so let's continue descending. So let's now go below 10,000 feet. The FMC tells me we should be approaching very soon, so let's dial ourselves down. Not too sure what's going on with the autopilot modes. Normally on the real DC-10, the moment you flip the vertical switch and you start dialing the speeds down, it should automatically switch to vertical speed mode. That's why you don't have to actually have a button for vertical speed. Okay, so information for arrival to runway 27 left. I'm going to enter that in now. So give me a second. So 108.50, and the course is 276. I'm just gonna enter that on both sides. Controlling the vertical path with the autopilot is very challenging. I believe we have overshot as well, so let's get ourselves back. So let's go to our heading select mode. Also, let's come off the set our rad INS switches back. Have to pull it out for heading select. So coming over here, we can see our landing speeds as well. So come to this EFB, and it's quite a simple item. So you just have to select landing over here, and it's telling us that at flaps 35 we can have a landing speed of 165 knots, flaps 50, 150 knots, and so on. I don't really want to land at flaps 50 if I'm being honest, so I'll go with the flaps 35 selection. Yeah, the L1011 is really nice, and if you're interested in L1011s, I actually made myself, I mean, not myself, for you guys, the L1011 videos. Okay, I've got an issue here. I have lost all flight control surfaces on this add-on, which is strange because I have... Oh, okay, hydraulic pressure has suddenly dropped off. Let's start the aux pumps. Oh, there we go. Suddenly I lost hydraulics for some strange reason. And no way to control my surfaces. It's getting a bit annoying. Okay, let's go view our lock. See if it works. Yeah, that's really true. I was actually wondering why the autopilot wasn't controlling the surfaces very well. And then I disconnected it and I tried to take manual control and realized I had no way to control anything. So I took a look at the hydraulics and all 3 hydraulic pressures had gone down to 0. Which is strange because the engine-driven pumps are definitely doing the aux pumps as a backup. Just so hard with this plane and kind of getting a bit impatient. Plus, for some reason, little nav map is not connected to the sim, so it's added some difficulty. Let's just drag this aircraft around. Okay, and I just realized that since I don't have any scenery installed, There's no way I'm going to be able to put this plane on the ground because it's all water, as you can see. We're just circling hopelessly over Atlanta. Oh, and I can see some Delta MD-80s also there on the ground. Some FedEx MD-11s. And I was trying to do a localizer intercept, and I'm getting kind of impatient and try to alter my actual airplane position using the map, and I don't know, I've had enough, to be honest. So I'm going to have to end the video here, unfortunately. And had I known earlier, then, you know. But I hope that this gives you at least an introduction to this aircraft. I mean, I did go through a full cold and dark startup and everything, but the autopilot on this plane is unusable in my opinion. I can't use this autopilot. And here, there's something strange going on with the hydraulics in particular. The aux pumps were my lifeline basically, otherwise I somehow just totally lost hydraulics and could not control my surfaces. So yeah, I'm not taking my chances with this aircraft now. And I thank you all for watching, and this has been quite an eventful flight. It's still going on, very eventful, but I'm not going to continue with this add-on, fortunately. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope you got the download link. If not, I'm going to enter it in the chat one more time. It is actually Bootsy. Okay, so thank you everyone for all my water landing. Okay, let's do that then. Why not? But if you forgive me, I'm just going to use my map mode and just drag this aircraft because I can't be bothered to line it up in the conventional sense. I don't even know where the airport is now, if I'm being honest. Just pure water. This plane is just diverting on its own, and I don't know. Let's just do a manual water landing while we're at it. I know this is completely unprofessional. Please don't in the chat later say, oh, this was meant to be a tutorial, and whatever. We're just having fun really with this add-on now. Where even is the runway? Disconnect these auto throttles. Highly unreliable there. So runway 27 left is here. So we're just going to bring ourselves down. There we go, nicely into the water. And I guess that is indeed the end of the stream. This is, yeah, kind of floating. Water dynamics and explain. Okay then, until next time, have a good weekend. It's not actually weekend yet, but it's midweek, okay? So have a good midweek, and yeah. I hope you have fun with this add-on. Okay, until next time, see you.